Hey everybody, Jason Burmis here for wearechange.org over on the backup channel, and there has been so many crazy things going on in the world in the last not only 2 days, but really week if you count the George Soros package, which none of us have seen yet, and it really isn't being discussed, but it may or may not be a part of that. I find it hard to believe it's not a part of this, especially today, now that we know that two other left darlings, Cory Booker and James Clapper, have now intercepted packages that are not only similar, but the same. As you're going to see, I believe it's right here. Is this it? Yes, there is the Clapper package. Now, let's zoom in on this if we can. It doesn't look like we can. Oh, there we go. Let's look at it. So once again, we have the same exact typo here for Florida. So this does suggest that indeed this is the same person. And no typos here, but once again, no postmarks. Now, I want to bring up the fact that, somebody says this has been debunked. It's going around that the post office, there's some forums over here if you search, no longer stamps all of these. Now, this may or may not be true. I'm certainly willing to entertain that idea and look into it, but boy, do these look suspicious. Remember what they're saying about Soros, and we'll get to it a little later, that was walked up, hand-delivered to his New York home in Westchester. And, although some of these are from New York, most of them, we got D.C., we've got the West Coast, California, and as of yesterday, let's see where we're at here. Where is it? It's Florida, right? They say that they're, well, there's the CNN offices from yesterday. But they're saying, as of yesterday, that these look like they're coming from Florida. Now, the media has hyped up this whole MAGA bomber nonsense. Okay? And that's what really, it's tough on me. How does this benefit even the most deranged of Trump supporter? Okay? How? How is that possible? I don't see how that helps them in any way. And we're going to go over everything in a minute and really, go over what we think this is. I mean, does it looks so sloppy to me that this doesn't look like an intelligence operation other than to play up the fact that it happened as a psyop. But again, we're going to find out. I don't know how they couldn't catch this guy. They're saying it's from Florida. Who knows? It's not like I trust the FBI, and you shouldn't either. We should be questioning everything, but at the same time, I'm not breaking out the jump to conclusions, Matt, that this is some kind of a sophisticated intelligence operation, because it looks pretty sloppy. And by the way, guys, I do want to thank Argyle. Thank you so much for being in there. He is a member over on the main page. Please subscribe over there. It's $4.99 a month. It helps us out so much. You can come donate, but that's what keeps this going. Luke, if you haven't seen the video from yesterday, was just in Houston having dinner with Ron Paul. Amazing stuff. There's more about that in our current email. I'm not sure if he sent that out yesterday or it's going out today. But a great video, him delivering Joby Weeks of We Are Change, Colorado's baby. Positive stuff. Positive stuff. In a world of negativity, it's nice to see some positivity over at the main channel. So once again, let's recap now what we've got here. Let's go all the way back to Soros, because I think it's so important to talk about the Soros package here. Where is he? Right there. Now, once again, the Soros thing happens days and days before. Soros is in home. One of his aides finds this package, okay, and takes it into the woods. That's the story. Now, if I found a suspicious package that I thought was going to blow up, I'm not taking it anywhere. I'm not throwing it anywhere. I'm leaving that scene. I'm calling somebody. I'm getting out of the vicinity, and I'm making sure everybody else does as well. And, the way that it was played up in the media, again, we don't know much about it, is that the bomb squad comes in, and they blow that up. Okay. Well, so today, Booker and Clapper. Now, another thing about this that I want to talk about is the fact that, well, this is the who's who of the left and the Democrats. We've got one actor so far, and believe me, there's a possibility of some other actors, but there's Robert De Niro, the F Trump guy. We've got Debbie Wasserman Schultz, who I believe was sent a package, as well as being the person that was addressing this to everybody. And if you don't know who Debbie Wasserman Schultz is, she is literally the person that helped steal the Democratic nomination away from Bernie Sanders. Okay? She's the one that helped orchestrate it. She was very much at the heart and the center of that operation for the Clintons. Okay? And the Barack Obama administration. She's a high-level Democratic operative. And I don't believe in left or right, but folks, that's just who she works for. Okay? You've got John Brennan. Again, the man who Seymour Hersh, in a recorded phone call that he didn't know was taking place, was named as the brains behind this Russia operation. And by the way, I don't have the article on hand, but Politico is now reporting, get ready for the disappointment. Because there is no there. Because there was no Russia collusion during the election. All these other indictments are other crimes. They can have Cohen flip, they can have Manafort flip, and they'll get some other criminal indictments and some prosecutions, but none of it will have to do with old Poot. Okay? So that's all. We haven't heard anything about that for like 6 weeks, and now this comes up. It's the midterms. And again, Seymour Hersh names Brennan, the ex-CIA operative, as one of the guys. Now, I'm not insinuating Brennan has anything to do with this other than to play it up in the media as the quote-unquote MAGA bomber. The MAGA bomber. The supposed right-wing Trump supporter that couldn't put together an actual explosive device. I had one of my buddies, a guy who used to work for me as a bouncer. Obviously, he's done some tours in the Middle East. I believe he's a Marine. And he may even be a PMG guy at this point, private military group. I'm not quite sure if he's still in the military or not. But he looked at those things and he laughed. It's on my Facebook. I'm not going to quote him verbatim or word for word, but he laughed at these explosives. And anybody who's seen them, X-ray stuff that came out. And remember, this is the who's who. I'm surprised Elizabeth Warren hasn't gotten one, but we're Bill, Hillary, Barack Obama, his wife, Eric Holder. It's the who's who. It's the who's who. You couldn't get more press, more attention. All right? I'm reading some of these comments. So let's look at them. This is the Brennan. Again, no postmarks, but we're supposed to believe that they just didn't postmark 2 of them now. Let's not go with they were hand-delivered. Remember, the majority are in New York. Isn't it a bigger possibility that they would have been hand-delivered if you had the Soros bomb hand-delivered? Right? And, I want to scroll down on my Twitter here and go to this Don Jr. article. Now, I'm not a huge fan of Don Jr. I certainly don't think he and his family are Nazis. Okay? I don't believe that. I don't think anybody else should either. But, he had some things to say about these pipe bomb attacks. And then Jim Acosta, this is the thing, man. There is, on some level, this left-right animosity. And this is why, for me, it's crazy to me that people think that, for instance, Israel runs everything in the United States, or Israel runs the media. The Trump administration has given Israel everything they wanted and more. They couldn't give them more, okay? So then why is the media attacking these guys all the time? And Don Jr. makes a great point here. Nobody reported on it at this level when my wife opened up a package addressed to me that exploded in her face with white powder. And I got to agree with him. No one did. No, that was barely reported on. So we absolutely have an anti-Trump media bias. Now, at the same time, that doesn't mean Trump does everything. In fact, I'm disgusted with many of the things that Trump has done, especially in regards to the Middle East and in Israel. Jerusalem is the capital, the slaughter on Gaza, the continued war rhetoric against Iran, the operations in Syria that are continuing today, with ISIS, with over 700 hostages, according to Putin, last week that nobody seems to be talking about, has European and American nationals there. Again, he said 10 executions a day. Nobody dies in this attack, but all the darlings of the left, right before the midterms, and I don't want to call this a false flag, sorry about this. Jeez, I'm all over the place today, guys. Oh, I don't want to call it a false flag because it looks to me more like this could have been just some idiot. And possibly, some idiot on the left. I thought it was crazy to me when, I heard Cernovich, who, I'm not a big Mike Cernovich fan. I think he does some good work, but he obviously falls short in calling, 9/11, for instance, a Muslim operation. Couldn't be further from the truth. I mean, you want to talk about we sent Muslims from a CIA-controlled Saudi Arabian consulate base. Yes, we did that. The majority of them coming from there. We used Muslims that lived with FBI assets and agents. We did that. We trained them on U.S. military bases. They got funding from other Muslims, Pakistani ISI, but they were obviously trailed and tracked by this Israeli subunit, the Mossad group, not just the painting unit, all that other stuff. So Cernovich falls short on a lot of things, but he was reserved because, we did have outlets out there right away calling it a false flag. This is a false flag. We know it's a false flag. It's been confirmed. They were running headlines of confirmed. No one's confirmed anything. Nobody's confirmed anything. But then Cernovich goes off and says, well, maybe this is somebody that, on the right wing had somebody, or not even a right wing, or just somebody who had somebody hurt or killed by Antifa. Now, as far as I know, I don't know anybody that's been killed by Antifa. Maybe I'm wrong. I have seen the bike lock video. That's crazy. I can't believe that guy didn't do prison time. I get that. Okay? I get it. But none of them have killed anybody. So it's hard for me to believe that this is an Antifa revenge. I'm going to go after the left. Again, that would kind of play into this MAGA bomber nonsense that I don't buy into. Remember, Hill Dog, Bill Dog, Holder Dog. So many. Maxine Waters. And of course, the Big Daddy, George Soros. Apparently, there's a new purge. I've heard rumblings and rumors that if you talk bad about Soros, if you tell any kind of truth about Soros, and by the way, it goes beyond George Soros, not a great guy, but I don't think he is the puppet master of all of this or of the entire left. I think that's imagination land. Absolutely a globalist, absolutely a powerful guy, absolutely not somebody that I would promote in any way, shape, or form. But the orchestrator, I would say, you want to look at somebody, 2 guys, maybe even 3, in the past 3 to 4 decades, and really beyond that, because they started their careers much earlier, but shaping the last 3 to 4 decades. David Rockefeller, that's a real guy. David Rockefeller, you look at his index system. I did a video on it last year. He was very organized. He was military intelligence. Aside from, obviously being in the Rockefeller dynasty, he went into the military. He went into military intelligence. He knew what he was doing. And Henry Kissinger. Henry Kissinger, another one. Brzezinski, no longer with us, is a big new. But these are policymakers. Now, that doesn't mean that they're the guys that are behind everything. But they sure shape visions. They're in a lot of these think tanks. They are sharing ideas. And they're executing them. Okay? And this just does not have the hallmarks of, some kind of a military operation. But the PSYOP is there. So I think that what has happened here, they've capitalized on somebody sloppy. Right away, MAGA land calls bombing threats a false flag. This was hours after the event. And then, that just turned into hundreds, if not thousands, of articles. So MAGA bomber obviously started trending on Twitter after this. And where does this benefit Trump? It benefits him nowhere. It's having a reverse effect because none of these bombs went off. Now, had bloodshed happened, had somebody like Pelosi been blown up or Maxine Waters or any of these targets, okay, that weren't under Secret Service protection. Because once again, a lot of this story seems extremely suspicious. How in the world would a facility deliver this to a Clinton address when, or a Barack Obama and Michelle Obama address, when all that stuff is pre-sorted by the Secret Service? The Secret Service should have intercepted it before it ever got there. And I'm sorry, these packages are extremely problematic. They look like something off a set, because in this day and age, it couldn't be easier to get the material to make actual explosives and the knowledge to do so. It's all online, and if you wanted that extra layer of protection, you know, oh, but people won't want to look at it online, Jason. You use a VPN. You go to a coffee shop. I mean, these are things that anybody who trades in cryptocurrency knows, anybody who goes on the dark web knows, that it's rather easy digitally to hide your actions. Now, just using cash in a rural area to get the very fundamental things for actual explosives would not be that difficult. And remember, they didn't really want to talk about the Austin bomber, okay? Remember the Austin bomber? Does anybody remember that? This is just March. It's like 6 months ago, 7 months ago, tops. All right? And this guy was sending out packages that were exploding and killing people. This is the real deal, okay? The real deal. The media did not hype this one up at all. Now, granted, it wasn't these huge political figures, but another thing Cernovich said, and may or may not be correct, I'm quoting him here, but he said that one of the Austin bombs did go to the InfoWars offices, and that's frightening to me. This person did not get taken by police. In fact, I believe there's a helicopter shot of what you're seeing behind me, the car exploding with him in it. His explosives worked. All right? And he got away with it for quite a while. So much of this story does not make sense with the MAGA bomber. But again, you know, Florida has been named. We know they've originated there. We know, you know, this person's got typo issues, didn't even spell Brennan right. We now have seen the Clapper. Where is it? Right here. The Clapper package, which looks almost identical. Again, not seeing the postage stamps, but, you know, according to the internet, they're not doing that as much anymore, which I find kind of odd that maybe that people would say that's a thing. They're 50 cents a stamp. I mean, you couldn't be more expensive to send something. I mean, that right there, it's $3. Tear it off and put it back on there. I'm just saying. I find it odd. I'm still questioning that, but I always want to bring out that other perspective. So folks, in closing, I don't think we've seen the last of this. I think we're going to see more packages maybe throughout the day, perhaps throughout the week. They're saying a Florida facility. We'll see if they get this guy. A lot of people are pointing out that this does look like they were walked up. And again, since the majority were in New York and they're not talking about Soros much, and Soros, again, when they did talk about it, they said it was walked up to his mailbox. And I find it, again, hard to believe that's a person that doesn't have surveillance outside his home, and they don't have at least some idea of what the perpetrator looks like, or what they were driving, or how they got there. Okay? You walk it up. I mean, in this day and age, folks, there's CCTV everywhere. I'm not the only one that watches the first 48. I'm sure I'm not. So again, I want to thank you guys all. Please, if you're not subscribed, if you saw this on the community post that I did on the main page, please subscribe. Let's hit 10K within the next month. I know I don't do these often enough, but this is an important subject and something that we have to talk about. You know, I had mic issues before I started. They may have been because I'm really trying to take calls, but I couldn't get my I was making some calls from my device, and they weren't hearing my microphone there either. So perhaps that was the thing. We'll find out in a moment. I'm going to do some tests after this. We're going to try to have those callers Sunday. We'll see you live on Sunday if I don't see you live before then. And again, folks, be the change you want to see in the world.